Welcome, everyone, today to the Red Book podcast. We have a really special guest today. We have Charmy Harker, otherwise known to all of us in the business as the Penny Lady, is here with me today. And we're going to talk about some really cool things. The coolest thing I just found out is that today is Charmy's first podcast, which is, of course, very exciting. So this is the inaugural Penny Lady podcast. And I guarantee, knowing you, that you're going to keep doing this because it's such an easy format. It's a great way for us to converse. But we'll get into that in a second. Charmy is really well known in the coin business. She's at almost all the major coin shows, certainly all the ones I attend. She acquired her passion for coins late in life. It's an interesting story we'll learn about. But she inherited coins from her aunt, and not knowing anything about coins, she chose one type of coin, the Indian cent. And that's normal for us, collectors usually to pick on one series. And Charmy's coin is the Indian cent, and she's made a career out of them. And she's turned this passion into a full-time business. And she's even registered the name The Penny Lady as part of her business. And she is the person you go to if you collect Indian cents and Lincoln cents, is my understanding. We're going to dig into why we can't contact her about other coins or whether we should, but that's also coming up. Charmy is a member of numerous specialty coin clubs, including she served once as the president of the Women in Numismatics. And I'm kind of curious what happened to Women in Numismatics from 2013 to 2022. So you did that for about 10 years, it looks like. Numerous awards, including the Numismatic Ambassador Award for service to numismatics. Recipient of Central State's inaugural Q. David Bowers Award for Lifetime Achievement. These are really prestigious things. You've made a mark in this business in a short period of time. Charmy is on, chairs other projects and has done presentations. And again, one of the best ways we all know Charmy is because she is a sort of a prolific poster of a travel blog related to going to coin shows. And that's really, I think, one of your secret sauces, Charmy, is that you do that blog, because I always pay attention and look for it when I miss a coin show. And then back in 2014, 2015, you had an exhibit called Penny Potpourri, a collection of penny creations, which won top honors, including Best Show and People's Choice Awards at numerous events. So all these things we're going to learn about, and I'm excited to have you on today.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I'm very, very excited to be here.
That was a mouthful, by the way. I mean, there's like so much to say about you introducing. I don't know if we left anything for the conversation, but I really do appreciate you being here. And I'm hopefully done mostly reading from a piece of paper. I just want to get to know you, learn about this business. So, I mean, look, I don't know if you've heard the news, but the penny's been in the news a lot lately.
Kind of, huh?
Yeah. What do you think about all that?
Well, it was coming. It was a long time coming. And as an aside, just so happens last night, I was watching The West Wing. Remember that show? The old West Wing?
Of course.
And the episode last night, Sam Seaborn, he started going on and on about that they should do away with the penny. And this was like 20 years ago, this episode appeared. And went on and on about how it's, not worth printing and that nobody cares about it. Nobody can use it in vending machines and all of that. Anyway, I thought I was watching that and thinking, wow, how timely was that?
Sure.
To see that episode again.
I'm sure you're like me, Charmy, in the sense that, I get asked these questions by reporters and all kinds of other news outlets and places. What is my feeling? But the reality is it's not really a coin dealer's job or even a coin journalist's job to know what happens if we get rid of the penny. That's an economist's question. And really, we're coin dealers. We don't know anything about what it means in the economy. We don't know how many pennies Wawa uses a year or something like that. So I don't know why we should be expected to know what the price of gold is going to be tomorrow or what the effect of getting rid of a penny. But what do you tell people?
These questions.
Mm-hmm, yes. Mm-hmm. What do you tell people?
So I was interviewed by a couple different reporters, and one from the Today Show, and for their online website. And the biggest question is it going to make the pennies we have now worth more? And I said, no, they're going to be worth the same tomorrow as they were yesterday. That doing away with the penny isn't going to affect the value of what you already have. And a lot of people come to me and think that the handful of pennies that they have been collecting in the past 20 years are going to be worth all this extra money now because they're going to stop making it. And I tell them, no, just, they're just the same exact coin as they were yesterday, and they will be tomorrow. So
Well, I mean, look, they make about 3 billion pennies a year, I think, at their peak a few years ago. And, as unless there's a 3 billion people start collecting coins, we have no shot at pennies being worth more, except in the case of people being taken advantage of, eBay sales. People, I mean, I know people are already trying to sell rolls of 2025 pennies for a lot of money, for $100. I mean, there's still, you're being generous if you pay 2 cents a coin, because you can go to your bank and get a 2025 roll. They're going to tell you they don't have any because people keep asking, but that doesn't make them valuable any more than bicentennial quarters in 1976, where everybody took them out of change immediately, and they're still worth 25 cents today.
yes, yeah.
So this is an important PSA to that regard. But we get asked this question, and Charmy, I mean, Charmy, it's absolutely really exciting that you're being interviewed by the Today Show. And I was interviewed by PBS NewsHour, and USA Today quotes me pretty regularly. And I am, I love the exposure we're getting in the hobby. That's
Yeah.
what's critical. And you are the penny lady, so you're going to get people. You're going to get someone who's interested in being a coin collector, who calls you because you can help them understand that the 25s aren't the valuable coin, although the omegas are, but that an Indian cent collection, or start in 1909 with a set of gem red or red brown Lincoln cents, is a great thing to do, and here's why. And you can feel nostalgic about the Lincoln cent and collect them, and that's how collectors are born. So I think it's really exciting.
The biggest question I get at shows and on the phone and emails is what is the most valuable, or how do I find out which pennies are valuable? And the first thing I tell them is, do you have a red book? So I said, all you have to do is look in that red book, look at the mintage figures of any coin, not just pennies. And the lower the mintage, the more valuable the coin will be. And value is based on that mintage and condition. And that red book will help you get started in figuring out which coins you might want to look for when you're roll searching or jar searching of all those piles of pennies that they've been left.
Correct. I mean, you could look right in the red book and look at Lincoln cents and see that, almost every coin can be bought for $5 in a certain grade, except for the key dates, right? The 09 SVDB, the 14D, the 22 plain. You go through, and it gives people a very quick idea of what you're in for. So thank you. I mean, thank you for telling people about the red book. I mean, I agree. It is a gem of a publication, and you can do that with all series, Indian cents or Buffalo nickels.
I call it the Bible for coin collectors. It's where they should start when they're trying to learn more about coins. It's the first book they should buy.
Yeah. I mean, when I was 5 years old, that's kind of the genesis of my coin collecting with my father. Was he handed me, the first thing he did was hand me a red book, and I just happened to be the kind of kid who would put it under the pillow and actually read it at night. I wasn't really reading other cartoon books. I wanted to know about money and numbers, and I just kind of got into it. And by the time I was 7 or 8 years old, I knew I could name almost all the key dates in pennies, nickels, dimes, quarter series, that kind of thing. I knew which were.
You're a true coin nerd.
Well, we all started somewhere, right? I mean, we got to find it. They didn't yet, they really hadn't invented video games yet. I was born in '69, so the Atari hadn't. When the Atari comes out, my knowledge drop off, hits a cliff a little bit. But until then,
yes.
Until then, I wasn't distracted. So I was like into coins. My dad was, I wanted to do what my dad did. It was just part of, what kids do. So how did you start collecting? How did you cross the Rubicon, as it
Well,
were.
as you mentioned, I inherited coins, and I before that knew nothing about coins, but my aunt knew I liked to collect things in general. I had a troll doll set and souvenir spoons and things. So she went ahead and left me this coin collection. It had everything in it, all kinds of denominations, and I felt so dumb about not knowing anything about these that I didn't want to take them and sell them without having some kind of knowledge as to their value and how to figure out what their value is. So I decided to go online and I bought books and I looked at videos. And then I was referred to a coin show, the Long Beach show, and
Okay.
because that's not that far for me to go to. And I just walked in and I was like just in awe because I didn't know that there was coin shows and that how big this one was. And I got lucky and ran into a coin dealer that specialized in Indian cents. And I had chosen the Indian cent because I was so busy with, I had teenagers and they were in sports and Boy Scouts, and I had a career I was a litigation paralegal. I didn't have time to learn all of them. And I just decided, let me start with one denomination and I'll learn that and then I'll go do another one later. Well, when I saw the Indian cent, I fell in love with it. It was so pretty, the design, and I like Native American history, and copper just has such really pretty colors that it can tone. So I decided to stay with that. And when I met Al Cruiser, who was the guy I was telling you about at the Long Beach show, he was happily uh, and gratefully decided to mentor me and teach me everything he knew about Indian cents. And it just grew from there. He let me work behind his table eventually, and I would buy Indian cents and then to upgrade the collection that I had. I didn't intend to be a dealer at that time. I was just trying to collect them. But he was showing me what the quality ones look like. So I would sell the lower grades and the lesser quality and buy the upper grades. And then I had to sell the old ones so that I had some money to help buy the new ones.
That's right.
And I think that's the story that you'll hear from a lot of coin dealers is how they get into it, is they have
Yeah.
to, you know,
My
sell
father's
to
story
keep buying.
My father's story is almost identical to yours in a certain way. He did it with barber coins, so he collected barber dimes and quarters and half dollars, and he was an associate professor. He didn't have much, not much salary at all. So he did coins on the weekend, and and what happened was he runs out of money, so he has to, you can't upgrade without selling your downgrade, and
Hmm.
so he
Yeah.
would just kind of flip it to keep, and he would take a table at the local, Holiday Inn coin show in Hampton, Virginia, or wherever, and we would just grew a business from there as you did. That was his specialty. His specialty was barbers, and that was it. I mean, he did all three denominations, but like he picked, like you pick Indian cents, and I probably wasn't a fan of Indian cents more than barbers were my dad's thing, and I liked Indian cents. I agree with you. Just a wonderful, cool
Yeah.
series, just a great looking coin in VF, XF. As the detail comes along on the coin, as you could afford to buy nicer coins. So, I mean, it's a nice story, and I want to say, I didn't know that you and I had Al Cruiser in common. He was a
I didn't
really
either.
a dear friend. Yeah, he was a dear friend, and I would get to know him. He was a Northern California guy, right? And was
Yes.
he was
Yes.
he Northern California? So
Yes.
I would see him at the Bay State show in Boston. Once a year, I went to this kind of smallest show that everybody coveted in the Northeast called Bay State, and all of my good old friends to this day all did that show. All the Northern guys, and Al would come to that show. So I would see him, we're talking about like the early '90s, let's say. The shows were half dead. The business was so much quieter, and you would talk to people. And Al, I'd go over and sit in front of his case, and we'd talk about things. And he turned me on to a lifelong thing, which is not only my Starbucks, because I would bump into him every day at Starbucks, but he told me about putting honey in my Starbucks. So every day is Al Cruiser Day in
You
a
put
certain way.
honey in your coffee. That's
He
interesting.
Because of Al. Because of Al. Ask his daughter. She will tell you that this man put honey in his car, and it's the best thing I ever did. So
Oh, how
so
funny.
it's funny. Okay. Anyway, so
Well, let me just tell you one little story with Al.
yeah.
So when he started to let me work behind his table, he was teaching me the business of, dealing in coins. He let me have one case when I had enough to fill it. And I
Mhm.
started buying and selling just to help make money to buy, coins for my collection. Eventually he goes, Charmy, it's time for you to move on. He goes, you're competing with me now.
It's time.
And
It's time to fly the coop.
it was, yeah. And he made me go get my own table at the Long Beach show, which again was one of the best things I ever did. So
Sure.
yeah,
Sure. He was a great guy, and a good
it
any
was.
good coin dealer friend is going to mentor somebody else in the same way. In our world, Harry Miller was kind of that person. I mean, there were 4 or 5 different dealers that would let my dad have one case. At Michigan State or this or there, at these little shows where you didn't need a whole four. And also sharing with somebody is also protection, right? Somebody's looking over your
Yes.
shoulder. And so all of these things are important. And so like Harry Miller was a really instrumental person. I knew Harry since I was, again, like 10 years old, sitting behind a table, arguing, and I still argue with Harry all the time. Like that's all I can do is argue with him.
Oh, here's one more other little funny thing about Al. So after I first met him and I sat at his table and we got to know each other and we were talking,
Right.
I leave and I'm walking around the show and talking to some other people. I had a couple Lincoln cents too that I was looking to sell because I thought they might be valuable. And his helper comes running up after me and said, "We're missing a coin." And I said, "Oh, I don't know anything about it." He goes, "Well, you were the last one that was looking at him." And he goes, "I really feel bad, but can I search your purse, for this coin?" I
Oh
said,
no.
"Sure." And I opened it right up. I opened it here, and I'll dump it out if you want. I did not take this coin.
Wow.
Then afterwards, and he apologized and went back to the table. He didn't find it. And afterwards, I thought, oh my God, they think I stole something from them. And I was really embarrassed about that they would think that I would do that because they
Sure.
don't know me. They didn't know me. I'm this new person. Eventually, but at some time during that show, that guy tracked me down and said they found the coin, and they apologized sincerely about searching me for this coin. And I felt so much better that they knew it wasn't me.
I respect that they did that. I mean, look, otherwise, maybe for the rest of your life, everybody has this awkward feeling because they don't find the coin. So better off that
Yeah.
they did that. But
Yes.
this is the business. I think a lot of people who watch the podcast don't realize that the business we're in is so fraught with. Well, it's trust is such a critical element in our
Huge.
business. And
Yeah.
and so therefore, there are people I know at a coin show. I mean, from 50 to 100 at a big show that I would give $1 million coin to and just say, put this in your pocket, give it to me in a week.
Hmm.
I've
It's
got to
true.
do something. I'll see you in a week. Just have it.
Yeah.
And they would do it. I know as many of my great lifelong friends outside of the business of coins, you don't know that kind of trust. This is not the fiscal trust that you gain of objects that we know about temptation and things. So anyway, that was a
You're
good
right.
lesson. That's a
You're
good
right
lesson.
in that. I'm very glad that they found the coin and they know I didn't do it, because he would probably never let me work behind his table if he ever
Right, they would
got that.
always have a suspicion, and it's just,
Yes.
yeah, that's just
Yeah.
the elephant in the living room. Um,
Yep.
but so I'm glad that worked out actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you also today you still specialize in Indian cents and Lincoln cents, is that correct?
And Lincolns. I do as many Lincolns as I do Indians. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Indian cents.
Um, Interesting. And when I retired from being a seller about 10 years ago, about 2014 or so, in the era before 2014, from like let's say 2009 to 2014, I was really bullish. I think I would argue I was one of the biggest buyers and sellers of Lincoln cents in the country. I just
Wow.
loved it's certified Lincolns, not the kind you put in your album, but the PCGS and MS 64, 65 red, red brown coins. But I just thought the value was so amazing, and it was because at the time that I seized on them, the levels, let's say a coin was $2,000. I mean, today those coins are 5,000, or they're just much
Mhm.
more. I mean, it was before
Yeah.
its time, and they were just really difficult coins. I'm talking about coins in the 20s and 30s and red holders, and sometimes as
Right.
nice as 67 red, like a monster. So what are your favorite coins then? So what do you love to deal in? And
Well, what I collect is a little bit different than what my collectors collect, because I really like the brown, satiny, iridescent, red brown toned coins. Red is not my personal favorite coin because a red coin is red. It's just red. Whereas brown can be red, brown, brown, iridescent, a little bluish, greenish, sometimes tints to them. So those are what attract me to copper, are the pretty colors. But
So
I
you're
have a
saying so,
lot of,
but so the red lacks character is what you're saying.
right, I guess. Yes, yes. Though I would never put down anybody collecting red coins because those are
Right.
pure and original, how they originally looked. And that's what a lot of collectors are looking for, like what they came out of the roll looking like. So I do have a lot of high-end Lincoln collectors who are putting sets together, and they're beautiful. They are really beautiful. But my eye is just attracted more to the toned coins.
Do you feel that there's an inherent danger in people buying red coins where the premium is really high over a red brown, let's say, uh, like a 66 or 67 red coin that can turn? What's your experience with that? What are your
Well,
thoughts?
they just need to educate themselves on how to store them properly and they will be okay. How did they stay red this long, over all these years? They were stored in a dark, dry environment. And so, if as long as you keep doing that, even coins in certified holders can turn. So if you keep them in a dark, dry environment, you shouldn't have any problems in collecting red coins at all.
So they should be stable, but don't, keep them out of a humid place, for example, and
Humid
uh,
is copper's worst enemy, humidity.
and,
Yes.
and and the old intercept shields are pretty cool, right? Like, that those cardboard sleeves, they don't make them anymore. But I always thought that was a good way to store copper
I think
because
they help, but that was still not guaranteed. If
you
you
still
were
need
in
to.
a humid area,
Mhm.
and they're exposed to that humidity, they're going to start turning. And the sun is the other enemy to red.
Yeah.
The light helps to tone them darker, puts that darker patina on a coin.
So oxygen and light are your enemy. Just,
Yes,
some.
yes.
I guess if
But
you're a Brit, it's
obviously, there's a lot of, true red coins still from the early 1900s, even 1800s. So they can be preserved if you store them properly. And I
yeah.
wouldn't be afraid. If you really like red coins, don't be afraid.
Okay. So what percentage of, let's say, Indian cents versus Lincolns do you deal in? What
It's
is your
it's
what's your business?
it's probably pretty close to half.
Uh huh.
And what's interesting is a lot of them don't cross over. A lot of them do either the Indians or the Lincolns. Some do both, but many of them do one or the other.
Hmm.
And the Indians, the price is getting really prohibitive for full true red coins. Those are really jumping up, and I'm having a harder time finding them. And I'm very picky. Spots, fingerprints on a red coin, they stand out so much that um, I think it makes them, I'd rather have a red brown coin than that.
Totally agree with you. That would be my advice to anybody: is brown or red brown for Indian cents. The reds, it's just hard to be a perfectionist there. And then in Lincolns, you can get really nice red coins, but in Indian cents, you're really better off. Um, just trying to stay away from those if there's a huge premium, because a lot of the reds that I see in auction, there's like degrees of red now. And as you said,
Yes,
you're fussy. So really, what is the right value in the gray sheet for an 1872 red cent and MS65 when, 20% of them have some kind of, thumbprint or some kind of
yeah,
disqualifying feature, and then another 30 or 40% really aren't red enough. And what about
they
two
do.
red and 63 red? That means they have to have spots. That's like the main
They have
reason.
some distraction. Yeah.
It's just not fun.
What I
So
what
why
I
would
tell
anybody,
customers for both Lincolns and Indians is those high-end 65 red brown coins, you can find 90% red in a red brown holder. So the value of buying a red brown coin that's mostly red, is a way I would go if I was trying to put together a nice red set. Go with the red brown price, might pay a
exactly,
premium because it's
exactly.
mostly red.
It's like getting 90% full band Mercury Dime or something. I mean,
Hmm.
it's really you're getting all the features, but you're not getting the market BS, as it were, of the
Yes.
of the red, of the full band, or
Yeah.
listen, we all trade full headquarters, but really, what are we talking about? Sometimes you're talking about people who are really fascinated and absorbed in registry. Okay, fine.
That
You're
would be the reason they would go full red
full
is
red.
to have a registry set.
To each their own.
Yes.
But
Yes.
okay. No large sense then, right? No, you draw the line at
Well,
large sense, or
I actually do or did. I did a lot of early copper for quite a while, but
hmm
it's sort of the market on them slowed down quite a bit, and it was taking longer to sell them. So when I see that happening, same with 2 cents, and then even map proofs, the market is up and down with those, and so I pull back
smart.
on filling up my inventory with coins that aren't moving as fast, and the early copper wasn't moving that quickly for me. And I wasn't one to be considered an expert in those. There are
hmm
some great early copper experts who know all the varieties and just look at one and they know what the variety is from by heart, but
Sure.
I
Right.
didn't.
Right.
So I was buying more of the generic, we'll say, large cents and not as much into the varieties. So I kind of just weaned myself out of the early copper, and I don't have very many right now. I have some raw pieces, but not any certified ones right now. I sold them all.
Yeah.
And
Hey.
same with the 2 cents, though I just got a beautiful consignment of a handful of certified 2 cents proofs, even that
Cool.
I'll be putting up on my website. So I will have some of those. But the 2 cent market kind of slowed down as well. I used to have a lot of 2 cents. So
Huh.
I go with what the market is pulling me towards.
Well, you're sensible to do that. You're sensible to know what you don't know, and to like I never dealt in colonial coins. I really rarely dealt in gold coins because I didn't know that market either. I mean, I'm dated gold, so for the same reason, I stuck to my really I always like
Your
19th 19th and 20th century collector coins. I love seated, I love barber, and I love Indian cents. And you're saying though that you were looking for a certain kind of velocity in your inventory, and I know exactly what you're saying. Indian cents and Lincolns are going to turn over way more often than large cents and 2 cent pieces.
Mm-hmm.
However, you might try Buffalo nickels. Is like, to me, that would be much a more natural extension for Indian cents. Is Buffalo nickels and and Mercury dimes, standing quarters, the 20th century, early 20th century coinage.
It's funny. I get asked that all the time, all the time. Why don't you go into the nickels above, especially the Buffalo nickels?
hmm
Expand. And I said, because I'm not attracted to those. I love
Okay.
copper and I know copper. So I would have to learn this whole other series and that metal on top of that. And I think that's important to know that what those coins are made out of and how to keep
Well,
them preserved.
I'll tell you a little secret. It's not nearly as complicated as early copper.
Okay.
You could learn Buffalo nickels in like 30 minutes compared to Indian cents, even, and certainly large cents. They're different. Like the strike is important. Does it have a good head strike on the Buffalo, even in Mint State, and things like that? You'll know. But anyway, it's.
But
I'm
but
not
then what
asking.
do I
I'm
do
not
about my
trying to talk
company
you into
name?
it.
What do I do about my company
Yes.
name?
That would be that would be the irony of it. The penny lady happens to be the world's biggest Buffalo nickel seller.
It's funny. People walk by my table and they're looking down in my case. Do you have any barber dimes or do you have any blah blah quarters, whatever? And I
Yeah,
just point up to my sign, and oh, that's right, you're the penny lady.
I like it.
I said, yeah, I'm not the
I
Buffalo
like that you
nickel lady.
specialize.
Yeah.
That's right. I like that you specialize. I got no complaints. Last question before we leave, the specific thing about pennies. What did you think of the auction of the Omega cents at Stacks last week? Did you watch it? Do you have an opinion about it?
I didn't watch it. I kept track of it. Um,
Okay.
crazy, crazy.
hmm
They made those coins specifically for the collectors, and right off the bat everybody knew they were going to go for sky high money, and especially the last set of them
hmm
was going to be the one that will take all the money home, and it did. So
Well,
I yeah, they're limited, so any limited series is going to do well. So
Do you think, did you buy any?
no, no,
No,
I
but
didn't.
I'm guessing you'll end up selling some. I mean, that's my
I'm
guess.
assuming they'll come to me at some point. Yes.
Sure, sure.
I didn't want to get on this initial frenzy. I wanted to see how it played out
Yeah.
and
Well,
and what people think of them.
100, I think I saw online, somebody on the PCGS chat room wrote that 171 coins, 171 people, bidders won one lot. So out of 232, maybe it was 171 or 141, something like that, some statistically high number, um, bought one lot. So most of those people you got to think are going to put that away. Don't you? Like if you bought one set, you probably just going to stick that away for your grandkids or whatever for your collection. Even if you're a
Unless
dealer,
they're going to try to flip it like they do when they stand in line at the mint at the shows for all of
yeah.
those
But but
limited
this
edition coins that are coming out.
but this prices us out. This is on average a $60,000 set. I think, let's say on
Mhm.
average. So I think that you're probably only about 75 to 100 sets will come on the market ever in the next 10 years, let's say, or 5 years. Um, it'll be very interesting to see
That may be true. Yeah.
what they start selling for, and it could be like nobody cares, but a lot of people did care for this auction. Like Stacks Bowers, people said that they had a kind of a record number of people trying to get online. It crashed the site a couple times. So Charmy, I mean, it's interesting, and only time will tell how many of these Omegas make it into the collecting circulation, as it were, and to see how they do will be really interesting. I mean, what's your thoughts on value this year, 5 years on these rare Omega items?
Well, I think that the people who didn't participate in the auction or didn't win anything will be very interested in trying to find some that do come onto the market. And I think the prices are going to go up on these things because they're so limited. And as you mentioned, I think there's only going to be a limited amount that go back into the market. I think a lot of people are going to go ahead and keep them and hold on to them for a while.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and and sadly, there's a bunch of counterfeits on eBay already where people are
Oh my
stamping
God.
an Omega because so the Omega has to be raised like the date, the Omega symbol, the Greek letter. So make sure what you're looking at on eBay, this is not possible without a certificate of authenticity and things like that, and PCGS grading. So, but let's switch gears now, because we know what we don't know, and we don't know what these Omegas are going to do. But you're famous for your knowledge of Indian cents and Lincoln cents. So, do you like the would you favor key dates, or do you favor grade? What's your preference?
Well, my preference personally for my own collection is what the coin looks like, but it never hurts to have those key dates. Those are the ones that are going to add the value to your collection. When I'm evaluating a full collection, I go first to those key dates and look to see the condition of those, and I put a value based on just those, and then I add more value on the other coins as a group, more or less. When I have to do one at a show and it's fast, I have to be more fast on evaluating a collection.
What are the
So,
best dates of Indian cents that when somebody offers you, I don't know, 1872 or 1874, you have to buy. You're like, I always sell that date fast.
well, and any of those low minted coins that we talked about earlier are considered the key dates.
Mhm.
And for the Indian cent series, the 1877 is the king. And there's a controversy um, in that one, we believe in the Indian cent community, is the lowest minted, more so than the 09S, which on record has the lower mintage. But we know there was only one known die, so we think the mintage figures of the I forget what it was, 800,000 or something of the 1877 is wrong. They can only make about 200,000 with one die. So we think
Interesting.
that one truly is the lowest minted of the series. And so that's the one that I always buy as long as it's in good shape. I avoid, especially with key dates, any problem coins. I don't like to buy corroded ones, bent ones, cleaned ones, pockmarked, whatever, dinged. I avoid those because that's the the princess of your collection is
Right.
that key date, and the ones that people are going to look at first. And you want it to be the nicest, prettiest, best looking coin in your collection.
The bell
So
at the ball.
yes,
So
yes, it is. And it's the most going to be the most valuable one in general of your collection as well. And I even tell people to try to buy that one first when putting a new collection together, the key dates, because those go up in value way more than most of the other coins. And that way the value will increase in your collection and you don't have to pay the higher price down the road, when it's the last coin you're looking for. And then the other advantage to buying it early is you can center your collection around that coin. Try to buy a grade or two within that grade of the key date and the look of it. Try to match the look of the other coins in your collection around that key date as well.
that's an excellent advice. I completely agree with that. And it's the kind of advice my father gave me about, like, with barbers, again, pick the key date. And then if you can afford like a 1901 S quarter and VF, you know, for you're not going to get that coin very easily, but that's, like you said, match the set. Most people want the set in a similar grade and quality. Um, so the 1877, I agree with you. I like it way more than the '09S or the
Yes.
even the '08S. But I always thought like the 1870 or 71 were cool coins. They're
The
just sort of underrated.
71, yeah, the 70, 71, 72 all have low mintages.
Hmm.
They're harder and more expensive to find. The 71 is one that I have a hard time keeping in stock. It seems to be harder to find, and so when I do get one, it moves faster. But so the 72 as well. The 72 is a very popular coin, and they
Yeah.
have a couple of varieties like the weekend. The
Hmm.
N on the back is either bold or weak, and the weak N is the one that's more scarce, let's say. So people are looking for that as well.
Cool. Is I gotta ask you something. We haven't. This hasn't even come up. I'm surprised. Are Flying Eagle scents part of your repertoire of
Oh yes,
Indian scents?
yes.
So
It's small sense. It's the beginning of the small sense, and they are considered part of um, the Indian Sense series.
so
Any
it's in
book
the
that you
family.
get on Indian Sense has the flying eagles as well.
Right. That's family. Okay. So with that said, the 56, of course, 1856, of course, is the key date there. Much more valuable than an 1877 in most grades, but also quite findable. It's like one of those rare coins that's really not that rare. You probably have a much easier time finding a nice 56 than an 1877.
I think that the 1856, in my opinion, should be considered a pattern rather than they call it a proof, because it was never really meant for circulation to be spent as a coin. It was handed out originally to congressmen as gifts, and I don't think that it's a typical coin that it's easy for people to obtain it's not easy for people to obtain it because there's not that many out there and they were never really meant for circulation.
Well,
So
I don't disagree with you, but I'll take the other position on the argument, which is to say, first of all, I've never seen an album or a folder or a collection of Flying Eagles that did not include the 1856. So that's, historically speaking, always considered part of the collection. But also, um, when you think of these Omega cents, there's 232 coins, and they're obviously not issued for circulation. So it's almost the same thing you described, and now those are going to be part of the collection of a complete Lincoln set, business strike set. You need the Omega pennies, in my opinion, in a
I
gold
agree.
one. So, I mean, this is just, we can dissect it and argue the 56 is a pattern. Is Estella a pattern? Of course, maybe they are. I don't know. I just someone who buys and used to buy and sell coins, and you are someone who does. And what you care about is what people want, right? And what people
Yes,
consider.
and the 56 is so hard for people to get, and I think the newer Dansko albums and albums don't have it in there. I
Uh,
think they did take it out of the later books because
well, I wouldn't at Whitman. I don't even. I would have to check our Whitman albums, but I think they should be in there. But let's that we could debate this, and I think it's a good debate. It's worthy of debate. But there's also things like whether they're all proofs or some are business strikes. I know Rick Snow has a lot to say about that. But but we'll have a bottle of wine one day, as I know you like to do, and we'll discuss it. So let's close and learn just a little bit about what you collect and what you love personally.
Okay. Um, so I put this collection together a long time ago of penny exonumia, which are things made out of or using pennies. And I tried to find anything out there that was made using pennies and found some amazing pieces, just all kinds of really cool coins. And I ended up putting an exhibit together, and we called it Penny Potpourri. And it's started out with these little tiny teapots that were made by soldiers and prisoners, and they crafted them out of one penny and made this adorable little teapot. And I think you're going to have pictures of it on
I
here
gotta have pictures. Yeah. Well,
later
I
of it.
I keep thinking of the acrylic toilet seat. I'm sorry, when you said poopery or whatever you want to say, I think of those acrylic toilet seats with pennies laminated in them, or people have decorated entire floors in their home with pennies. There's a lot of usages for
I
pennies.
actually have a little table that a friend gave me, a little side table that is all pennies on the top as well. But I'm more talking about that they take the penny and they mold it into something, or they use it for advertising, all of the encased pennies and the pocket mirrors, and even for political reasons, they put pennies on the back of these little celluloid things, and had people who were running for office hand them out. So they were put to use in all kinds of ways, and very crafty pie cutters. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
heard of pie cutters, where there's a handle, and they took mostly large cents, and they would crimp the edges and make it like to cut the crust of a pie or pastry, and with a little wheel, made it a wheel. And they used pennies for gears even. So
Okay.
they were really crafted. uh, People crafted them in all kinds of fun tokens and uh,
So
pieces, just all
where
different
do you
kinds.
find where do you add to your collection? Is that an eBay thing, or where do you
Well,
find?
eBay is one source. There's some other online places, but mostly now that people know that I have been collecting these for over 20 years, um, I have dealers who will bring them to my table at shows
Okay.
and offer them to me. And I have one dealer in particular. He knows I am probably the largest collection of penny pocket mirrors, advertising mirrors, and he finds those all around the shows that he goes to, and he'll buy them for me and sell them to me. And so
Awesome.
I have probably 100, of those kind of things. And then the teapots are the other thing. I probably have a couple hundred of those. And I have a bracelet made
What are
by a
these worth?
prisoner.
What is like a penny pocket mirror worth? What's the value range?
Again, depends on how rare that pocket mirror is, the condition of it, how old it is. Anywhere from $50 to $500 at least.
Interesting. Interesting. Are there a lot of and you're the biggest collector.
I
You
think
know,
so. I
yeah.
don't think anybody has a
Be
larger collection.
okay. Be careful. You don't want to be the only collector.
No, I hope not. I'm intending to write an article or maybe even a little catalog of them because I have so many. I've
Oh,
done a
that's
lot of
cool.
research on the advertisers, to try to find out where they came from, and more about that company that
Sure.
advertised on these
Well,
things.
maybe at Whitman we can publish that for you.
That that would be great.
Let's
That would
do
be
it.
great.
Let's do
Yes.
it. Well, thank you so much, Charmy, for coming today, and I really appreciate it. We had a few technical difficulties, which hopefully our editors did a clean job with. But if you're wondering why all of a sudden Charmy had a different background, We lost an internet connection, but we're all good now, and we're learning as we go. And we thank everybody for joining us today. If you enjoyed the conversation, please like and subscribe. Charmy, I think you should probably start your own podcast. I think you're going to be a natural at it. This is it. It's like very complicated, as you can see. It takes a PhD to do one, but I think it's in you. So thanks again for joining us. And if you go to the fund show this January or any other major coin show in the country, look up Charmy and have a conversation with her, and you might fall in love with Pennies if you aren't already. She'll tell you all about it, and she's got great advice. I agree with
And
everything you
you can
said.
be in my show report if you come by my table. I'll take your
That's
picture and
right.
you can be in my show report.
It helps to bring good red wine, is what
Oh,
I've learned.
yes,
That's the way to our heart. So
it
thanks
is.
again. Happy holidays to everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.